Hey, it's Jeff Tamburello. I'm the director of the Southwest Florida RIA. I've got one of our corporate sponsors on here, Rick Altemeyer. I used to own a mortgage company, and Rick was one of my account reps back in the day. That makes him pretty much one of the OGs of the mortgage business here in Southwest Florida. So tell us about yourself, Rick.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, we've been out here in Southwest Florida since '86. I'm married, got a couple of kids in the early 20s. Been doing mortgages since '89. So, yeah, I've been doing it quite a while. Have done wholesale where you and I first met. Uh, got certified to do commercial loans back in the '90s, and I've done those from time to time. And actually, now I'm a branch manager with Residential Home Funding, where we handle loans of all types, from commercial to first-time home buyers to anything in between.
So the RIA, it's a real estate investment organization. What products are out there for a real estate investor? And really, investors are generally looking for two products, one to acquire, probably three really, one to acquire property, refinances on stuff they've acquired with cash, and then somebody to buy their flips, like an end user type loan, particularly with seasoning being an issue.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I've been involved with RIA for a long time. As you know, I was just about your first year, because as I remember, I think I originally got associated back in '02, if I remember correctly, we were met downtown. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great programs in the marketplace for investors today. For people who are out there buying it, oh gosh, you can do it even stated, bank statements, full doc, really any way that we can verify any kind of cash flow, we're going to get that loan done. For people who have been investors for quite a while, especially targeting the investors maybe who bought quite a bit back in the early days of the recovery, 10, 11, 12, and they've got maybe some smaller properties. They like to pull some cash out to do some more investing or some other purposes. They can actually consolidate those into one loan and have one set of closing costs for the most part, and pull out multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a really slick way. It's actually in our commercial division. That's one of the reasons I came to residential, was because of the fact that we had those opportunities out there. And of course, ultimately we have to take our good investments and turn them into cash. So we got to find that buyer. And today, between the FHA, the Alt-A, I mentioned the meeting last night, the first real stated program just rolled out this week. There are programs now to get just about anybody done if they've got some assets and or good credit and good income. So RIA's been a great program for me, a lot of great information, and absolutely I'm here to help the investors realize some cash flow.
How about how are appraisals? I actually have not heard anybody complaining about appraisals lately.
As you know, I've always been a really good advocate of appraisals. I actually took a course before I got into decide on lending, and I thought I wanted to be an appraiser. So I've always had an interest in appraisals. Values have actually been coming in really good. I've had just a couple I've had to try to nudge a little bit, but way less than 10% of the appraisals are even a question. 95% of them are coming in, at value or overvalue. So it really hasn't been an issue. I know we've had a little softening in the market, especially in Cape Coral, but really have not had a major issue with the appraisals at all.
Now, how about I get calls on the brokerage side all the time for people to do rehab loans. How are they? Are like FHA 203K any better than they used to be, or is it pretty much the same?
203K is pretty much the same. I did one of the first 203K loans in the state back in 1990, so it's been a program I've had an interest in for a long time. When it fits, it's good. It's a small percentage of my business. Where I see a lot more in getting the properties fixed up is working with the investors on like a fix and flip type of situation. A lot of good programs, a lot of good money. Again, stated bank statements, we can get them qualified about any way they want to get it done. Even new construction for investors, we have construction lenders as well. About 4 or 5 of them work with, again, sometimes a little bit creatively. So it's 203K is a good program if you have the right buyer. As you know, you have to work with a certified contractor. You can't do it yourself unless you're a certified contractor licensed. But for the right buyer, it's a really good program.
What's the approval process like to get, say you've got a contractor, what's the approval process like to get them approved?
To get a contractor approved, just really
Yeah.
get a copy of the license.
Really?
Yeah, it's not hard to get contractor approved. You're talking about for like a 203K?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all. Matter of fact, you can actually like Lowe's or Home Depot, they're already approved. Just like here's my invoice from Home Depot, they're going to install it. That's all there is. Just, Home Depot's already approved. So if they're legitimate, they have a license, it's pretty easy.
Wow. So what would you say on a 203K? What would be the timelines? How, generally how long do you need to close a loan like that?
I would ask for 60 days. The reality is probably more like, like normal. I mean, it's just like any other loan. While we're processing the buyer, we're processing the property. So, 45 days is probably realistic, but get me 60 just in case we need an extra quote. But really not any different. It's just more work for me. But that's why I have a job, so not a problem. So it really seems to slow things up, So as a seller, if I'm an investor, I'm doing a quick flip. I don't really want to do all the work. I changed my mind. I don't want to go in there and redo the kitchen and everything because it wasn't that bad. And by the time I drop $25,000 in this property, I really won't get it back out. And I'll just sell this to a buyer, let them pick out their own paint and their own appliances. Then 203K is definitely a viable option for a situation like that.
Cool. If tell me about rates. What do you see coming? And I know nobody has a crystal ball, but what do you see coming in the next 12 to 18 months as far as rates?
Okay, that's a good question. And you're right. No one has a crystal ball. I follow it very closely. I'm tied into the bond markets. Daily I'm checking it 4 or 5 times every day. I educate my clients so they understand how the markets work to some extent, whether they should lock now or float. We're definitely in a rising rate environment. So just talking about locking as a rule of thumb, it's a good idea to be looking at locking from day one. But, especially like last month, the election, there are always occurrences that can affect the markets for a couple of weeks. The forecast by the Fed has been to have 3 increases next year. Now they've backtracked a little bit. They're talking about 2 to 3. I wouldn't be surprised to only see 2. But, the official consensus is 2 to 3 increases next year. A year ago, they were predicting 6% rates by now, the first of the year. And we're really still right around under 5.5. Most of my quotes are going out around 5.25 if they have good down payments and good credit, like over 700s. Where they're looking less than 5.25. If they're under 640 especially or under 660, probably looking at closer to maybe 5 3/8, 5.5. So we're still at 5.5 or less for just about everybody.
Okay. Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Rick. How would somebody
Absolutely.
get in touch with you if they need to do some business with you?
Well, my phone number is 239-980-7883. You can Google me. I'm on Facebook, both under Rick and Richard Altemeyer. And if they want to just email me, it's just raltemeyer@rhfunding.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Rick.
All right, Jeff. Thank you.